Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Jenevieve Lenz of First Financial Group. Jenevieve, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Gresh. Glad to be here.
Super excited to have you on as well, too. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Jenevieve so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Jenevieve, or Jenevieve, because I know you speak multiple languages, is a professional entrepreneur, support, and wealth advisor who wears many hats. She is the third generation entrepreneur from a family of German, Scottish, and Eastern Europe immigrants. First Financial Group is based in Bethesda, Maryland, and she works out of the Reston Office. Jenevieve, or Jenevieve, are you ready to speak to the I Am CEO community?
Yes, sir, I am. Let's get it going.
Let's do it then. So to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to hear a little bit more about what I call your background or your CEO story, and we'll let you to get started with all the awesome work you're doing.
That's a long story. I love to tell the history of my grandfather who came to the United States with his three brothers. So four German brothers landed in New York, and they all started their own business. And my grandfather, Herman Lenz, started not only his own restaurant, with his brother. They actually had another brother who wanted to go into home building. So started some restaurants, started building some homes up there in Pine Ledge, which is the Rochester, Buffalo side of the state. And lo and behold, my dad was born into this family. He had two siblings, and it didn't take him long to realize that he didn't want to be involved with all the businesses that his father had built. So he set off on his own to start his own business, as did my aunt. My dad looked for a place to start a business, and he ended up buying a structure that dates back to 1853. It's historic property. Back in the days of like the late 1700s, the Holland Land Company offered 10-acre plots of land to whoever would own and operate a property on it. So this gentleman named Asa Ransom bought this property, built a small tavern on it, and my dad actually bought the historic property, and he named it the Asa Ransom House after the founder and the settler. So it's great. I grew up there. They actually built the business when I was a kid. I was involved in every aspect of this business, from front desk management to waitressing to house cleaning, management skills. I went off to college and even wrote some of my thesis on how to build and operate a business, how to maintain staff, how to put a staff manual together, how to do marketing. So it evolved as my college years evolved. And then, fast forward many years later, my grandfather passed away. And there was just, a lot of repercussions as to how the family was affected by his death, the things that he had done during his lifetime building businesses and the assets there. So that's the short and sweet of how I got started. Everyone in my family was an entrepreneur, so I didn't know anything different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know when we connected and spoke initially, and then even offline, in preparation of this, that was something that really resonated with me, of you having quote unquote entrepreneurship in your blood, and also being able to obviously help and support, business owners, entrepreneurs, and so many different, people in that aspect, but really be able to call on your roots, for lack of a better term, to be able to kind of do that and understand the mindset and the things that entrepreneurs and CEOs and business owners might be going through.
Yeah, because it's so far-reaching, right? I mean, you're a CEO, especially if you've built your own company from scratch, you wear many, many hats. I mean, and you have to be a jack of all trades, or you have to get really good at finding other people that you can delegate some of these things to. If you're not everybody's great at internet marketing. Most CEOs I speak to and support today, they have a great internet person, right? They have some people that even write their content for LinkedIn and Facebook. That's only one aspect. And as their company grows, finding key teammates, employees, and retaining them is huge, right? We've seen how important that is through COVID and what the world's dishing out today. So there's just so many areas of support that's needed. Obviously, one big one is financial. My role as a financial person, I find myself wearing multiple hats as well, because I'm on the board of my dad's company. So when I'm not doing my primary financial role, there I am, behind the scenes at midnight, helping with content that creates marketing for still the family business that's running up in New York State.
Awesome. Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I know that, as we kind of spoke to and you referenced, there's so many different kind of things and hats that, entrepreneurs and business owners wear and have to kind of manage and understand in order to get to the goals that they have. And I know, obviously, as you do, financial is a big part of that. Could you take us through a little bit more on how you support the clients that you work with and what exactly that process looks like?
So it looks a little bit different for everyone, but there's a lot of it that's the same, right? So it starts with meeting them where they are, right? Every business is either in a thriving situation right now. Their business, I've seen some business owners, COVID's been really, really good to them. Others not so much, right? They're in a major pain point. Revenue is behind. Maybe it's cash flow management. Maybe it's just that their business is stagnant. It's not growing. In this environment that we're seeing currently. So meeting them where they are, figuring out what the most important thing to them is today, right? Every business owner, it's going to be different. Working with some clients now that actually lost a partner. So the structure of the business is important. And when you have a partner that's lost, death, disease, things that are happening within your firm, how do you manage that, right? Was there a buy-sell agreement in place? How do you retain the employees, if that's a key partner, right, that they're afraid that something's going to happen to the business, making sure that every one of my clients has the key partnerships in place has been the one thing that kind of rises to the top, right? You asked me what's the main thing. It's making sure they have an integrated approach, right? And I think when I speak to other organizations, this always becomes a thing because a lot of people have their professionals, right? They have a financial person, they have a CPA or their accountant that does work for them. They probably have a business attorney, estate planning attorneys, different bankers and so forth. But are all those people integrated? Are they speaking to one another at least, once a year, twice a year, at least bare minimally the financial and the CPA? I mean, there should be meetings that are held with all your professionals for your best interest, because if you don't have that, things are falling through the cracks, right? Maybe it's revenue, maybe tax optimization hasn't been addressed, maybe it's employee benefits, right? If you're in the growth phase and you want to not only retain your employees, but grow your firm, and you know that you're going to be adding 3, 6, more workforce next year, what does that look like? How can you work with your financial professionals and your accountants to make sure that the growth is happening and it's optimized as it's happening? I think that I've seen, actually, I don't think I know, I've seen some really strange pitfalls when clients don't have a plan in place. And we're trying to get to them and educate them and say, hey, these are things you need to think about. It's okay. It's okay if you don't have that today. It's okay if something's broken. Talk to people, kick the tires on talking with several advisors, make sure that they're willing and able to work with each other, right? I think that's, it goes without saying, you're going to have a better time. The business is going to be in a better stronghold. You're going to have less stress and sleep better if those things are optimized around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as you spoke to in reference, having those people, those key people around you, it's so important to be able to understand that and have a plan in place. And I love how you are able to, you use that word integrate and kind of be that glue to all those different pieces, because I think so many times we may not have all those things aligned and even not even know where to turn to. But it's great to hear that you've been able to kind of do that, and you help support clients in terms of not figuring out what somebody else is doing, but what they can do in order for them to reach their goals and see their dreams and aspirations come to fruition. And so would you consider that to be your secret sauce, that ability to be able to, I guess, see the different pieces and be able to bring them all together? Is that what you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
I would say that is. I think that a lot of people are looking in the financial world or the trade, they're looking with kind of like blinders on, right? They think revenue first. They think, I need to do X, Y, and Z to make money for myself. But if you have an expanded awareness and you realize that doing the right thing for these people might not be an immediate financial impact for you, right? I've met some medical clients specifically that the main thing for them was, they had a recent death in the family and they wanted to make sure their estate planning was buttoned up, right? From the business side, from the personal side. And they had one of them had never done it. One of them hadn't done it in years. And so walking through that, connecting them with a trusted advisor or attorney that could do the estate plan and set the proper agreements in place for their business. That was number one. Doesn't put money in my pocket, but that was the right step to do. And then, of course, back end and coming back to the planning aspect. I think, especially now for business owners, I've seen it, and I've seen it several times in 2020, those that have brought on new advisors, or at least advisors that are integrating with some of their current advisors, they're more likely to see an entire impact that's positive, on their enterprise value, on both their personal and business lives, right? So that's key. Something might not be in place that they don't even know is missing until they start interviewing and talking to other people and saying, well, gee, I don't have that integration. Maybe I should talk to a few more people and see if I can integrate that for better business and personal success. I think that answers your question, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely does. And I think so many times, as you said, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and having that opportunity to kind of speak with different people so you can get that understanding, but that integration and that kind of foresight to understand where somebody wants to be. And as you said before, meet them where they are and basically create the steps by which they can take in order for that to happen is so huge, because I think so many times having those blinders on and not being aware of all the different opportunities and things that you should be taking into an account when you're making that strategy is so huge. So I love that, you mentioned that today, obviously, but I love that you do that with your clients, because I think, knowledge is power, and in being able to have strong people that have a lot of knowledge and information around you is so important in terms of getting and increasing the likelihood of being successful.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, one of the nice things that I've done for myself is I joined a group called NABO, the National Association of Women Business Owners. And there's a lot of wonderful women in this group, right? Women that have been in the Fortune 500 companies, they've been members of other companies. And at some point, the aha moment came to them that they weren't being appreciated, or the business was going in a direction that they didn't want, or maybe they were passed over for a promotion. And many of them left and started their own companies, right? They said, I have power, I have ideas, and I want to become my own CEO. And those are the women I love to support because they have a vision, right? And they just need to surround themselves with other professionals, other CEOs, right? We all kind of bounce ideas off of each other. I love when a bunch of NABO women get together because it's almost like sparks are flying in the air. You can see that there's energy. You can see that the women are definitely dedicated to taking their skill set and supporting one another. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you start to see and feel that energy, as you said, the sparks start to flow, that's really when things go to another level. And it's so important to kind of keep your environment in so many different ways set up to increase your likelihood of success. And so I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Well, I could say there's a couple things that make me more efficient. Number one is delegation. I think there's not a person I know that's risen to the top that wasn't able to be a more efficient delegator. So that's, and I say delegate, it doesn't just mean to your assistant, right? I mean, a lot of people have an assistant and that's the first person you go to. I think delegation to other people within your company and finding out, I think Steve Jobs even said it, right? You hire people that have a skill set that you don't, and then you give them that work and you trust them to do it. Right? We said that earlier with hiring somebody to do your social media. I'm not great with paperwork, right? So I have some people on my team and I can just call them and say, look, here's all the data, here's the stuff. You make it look pretty. Please compile it. Please fill out these applications and then shoot it back to me. And it's great because you have a couple sets of eyes. Not only is it done for me, but it's a couple sets of eyes to review it and proofread it. So delegation is cues. I would say a couple hacks are also good reading material, right? I'm always grabbing snippets of articles. I'm looking to basically surround myself with bits of information, whether it's financial, personal, mindset is huge. There's a book out there called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Because if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to get anywhere, right? We all know that. There's another book that I've been reading, and I read it at the beach this last year, and it's called Love Does. It's a personal read by Bob Goff, but it's a mindset expander talking about, going forth into the world and doing everything you do, from your personal to your business, to how you treat your employees, to even how you treat the person down the street that, maybe was involved in a car accident, with love, like looking at it through a different lens. That was a game changer for me. It made me feel like I wanted to go out into the world and treat everybody with more love. And it's hard. It's hard to do that because there's a lot of negativity and the news is there and we're being bombarded with stuff day in, day out. I turn off the TV now more than I ever have. I dial into the financial channels. I dial into what I need to know, and then it's off. I turn it off. I don't want the noise. So turning off the noise helps you to be in your mind and think a little bit more clearly as well.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And I think it's so huge, as you said, to be able to delegate. And I think so many times we think of delegation as like, oh, it's my assistant or somebody that's an intern or something like that on the team. But in reality, delegation, a lot of times is what we talked about before, is knowing your lane and sticking and staying in your lane. If your lane is not social media, then having a social media person. If your lane is not financials, then it's reaching out to somebody like yourself that has loads of expertise and experience and be able to kind of speak to that. And a lot of times it could be partnerships and understanding this is what I do best. So let me stay in my zone of genius as much as possible and surround myself in that environment with people to be able to make that happen. And I love those two books. I haven't checked those out, but I definitely will. They're added to my list for now. Sure. And
I have one more. I have
yeah,
one more
go for
tip
it.
for you, right? So those people that are working mom CEOs, which are my favorite, delegate to your kids. A lot of people say, well, I can't do that. They're too young. Well, you know what? This is Christmas time when we're doing this interview, and it's gonna be airing, I guess, next year. But every major holiday, from Valentine's Day to Easter, there's always some kind of recipe, something that involves, right, chocolate or cooking or baking. Get your kids involved, get them involved young. I can call on the mornings that I have early morning meetings and tell my 10-year-old to make breakfast, and she'll come up with scrambled eggs and toast and, fruit and everything. She does the whole 9 yards. So don't tell me that your kids can't be delegated to. Just get them in the kitchen with you, train them to do stuff, and they're great to take on some of the workload around the house.
Nice. Yeah, I appreciate that as well. And I think you're absolutely right where you use the operative word, which is train. I think so many times we think that everybody wakes up and they know how to cook. A lot of times it's because they've been trained or they've been around that and they start to develop those skills. And I think that, when we're looking at our kids and be able to kind of create that opportunity for them to be empowered as well too, not only will help them if they're cooking breakfast, but will help them later on when they're in a boardroom or they're leading a company, because they start to feel ownership, they start to feel control, and they understand how to get things done, which I think is one of those vital skills that is so important for all children and definitely adults as well too. So I appreciate those hacks. And I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. It might be something, if you were to hop into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Ooh, that's a good one. Hop into a time machine and tell my younger business self. I would say to find those people that exude confidence and that you can see a positive trend, right? The people that are not the naysayers that say that it won't work, right? There's plenty of them out there. I think people that I talk to that start their own companies, some of the worst people to get advice from are family members, right? They don't have confidence that it's going to work out. They don't want to see you get hurt. I think that's the issue, right? So think outside the box. Don't talk to family members. I know you're going to want to, and they're going to want to know what you're doing. But if you have an interest in an industry like I did when I was a kid, and I knew I wanted to be involved with business owners, but I didn't necessarily want to run a restaurant or a country inn, even though I loved cooking and baking and I loved the whole hospitality aspect, but that wasn't for me. I didn't see myself. So I went and I actually found the top advisor at Merrill Lynch at the time, and his name is Bob. And I said, Bob, I need to talk to you. I think there's some things going wrong with my family. There's inherited assets that aren't, there's something wrong. I can just feel it in my bones. And he became the best advocate and best partner that I had. So I wish I knew that earlier. I wish I knew that, 5-10 years earlier than when I found it. I think every high school kid or college kid that might be listening to this, or a parent that's listening to it that has kids of that age, find a mentor. Find a good mentor in the space that your child or yourself is interested in. Just grab hold to their coattails and, let it fly.
Yeah, as we said so many times, it's so important to be able to have that environment around you. And I think that so many times we automatically will go to those that love and care about us most to tell them about our vision and our goals and those things. And I too myself can speak to not getting the reaction I always hoped from the people that were closest to me. But as I got older, I understood it wasn't because they didn't want to see me succeed. It wasn't because they were trying to sabotage me or anything along those lines. It's just what you said. Sometimes they don't want to see you get hurt, and they know sometimes the challenge of what it takes to do that. So often you have to sometimes go with, outside of your circle, outside of your close knit, love, family, family and friends to sometimes find those people that you can hold on to those coattails and that you can learn from, you can grow, and it'll only make you bigger and better. So I absolutely love that CEO Nugget. And if you see my younger business self as well too, please tell him that as well, because I love that.
I think every younger business self needs to hear that, right? Shout it from the
Absolutely.
rooftop, shout it from the mountains.
Exactly. And so now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Genevieve, what does being a CEO mean to you?
CEO means Chief Executive Officer. I know that. But to me, CEO means being chief in your own mind, right? Chief idea generator, chief hospitality. I feel, because that's my background, right? I was waiting tables when I was 9 years old. People don't need to know that you have all the answers, and you don't, right? None of us have all the answers. They just need to know that you care. That's it. They need to know that you care, and the rest will take care of itself.
That's extremely powerful. And one of my favorite quotes I say is, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And I think that speaks directly to what you just said, is being an understanding that you'll find a way because you have a person's, best interest at heart. Whether, like you said, you're waiting tables or you're running a company or you're anything in between, showing that you're caring and having people's best interests at heart is so huge. So I love that you mentioned that as your definition. I love that you embody that and do that with your clients as well too. And I truly appreciate that. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Thanks, Gresh. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. It was a pleasure to be interviewed by you, Gresh. I love your energy. I think that's one of the things that we first attracted to each other about wanting to have a conversation. I do look forward to doing a run in the snow with a hot cocoa or something, if that's up in the air. No, how to get a hold from me. I'm in the Reston, Virginia area, but I am licensed in 8 states. So you can either call me at 375 8040. So that's area code 703, of course, 703-375-8040. My email address, I'm sure Gresh will share it after the show. But if you need to, you can just go to First Financial Group, and I'm one of the advisors that's listed there under the Reston Office. I welcome questions, I welcome emails, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. So link in with me, and that's probably the best way for us to connect and find some time to spend together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Genevieve. We will definitely have the links and information in the show notes, and I'm definitely looking forward to that run with hot cocoa, and maybe lots and lots of bundles of clothes as well too. So I appreciate you again so much, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
You too, Gresh. Thanks so much for having me. Have a great day.
All right, and I'll cut it off here. Hello. This is Gresh again from the I Am CEO podcast. We had a phenomenal interview with Jenevieve Lenz, or Jenevieve Lenz, of First Financial Group. She's provided loads of awesome value. And for people that might be just listening to this bonus section, Jenevieve, can you tell us a little bit more about you and what it is that you do to kind of help support the clients you work with?
Sure. First of all, Gresh, there's no wrong way to pronounce my name. I speak multiple languages, so Jenevieve or Jenevieve are correct. And I love that we can banter about that. I work at First Financial Group in Reston, Virginia. I'm one of the lead wealth advisors there for them, and I work with business clients, helping them grow and maintain cash flow on their balance sheet. So thanks for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to have you on again. And I've heard everything from Gresham to Gretchen, and I really speak just 1.5 languages. So I'm not sure who my deal is, but I'm glad to hear that there's no way to say it wrong. So I know during the interview, we talked a lot about making sure that your environment is set up for you to be successful. And I know we talked a little bit offline about, the value and the importance of business partnerships, especially at any time of the year, but especially at the beginning of the year. Could you talk a little bit more about what that is and maybe some of the things that we can do as entrepreneurs, business owners, and CEOs to make sure that we're setting ourselves up to be as successful as possible?
Sure. It involves a lot, and it doesn't just involve me as a financial person. So what I've been seeing and what I've been working on with clients is that with so many new global changes, right, we're in this unforeseen pandemic. A lot of what we're looking at and focusing on is partnerships, right? So let's take 2021 and go back to basics and look at the partnerships that you have. Look at the financial partnerships, look at the banking relationship, look at the partnership with your CPA, your accountants, Even look at the partnerships that you have with the real estate, right? Or your other professionals, the attorneys that you work with. Making sure that those are buttoned up and that those professionals are working together is going to be key, right? I can't tell you how often it happens where someone's not getting the optimal advice from a CPA that they've known and loved, but that person isn't growing with their company, right? They've outgrown that CPA. That CPA is only filing taxes. They're not doing tax optimization strategies throughout the year, and they're definitely not working with an advisor to make sure those things are integrated. I work with a lot of companies that are just now realizing that they can get cost analysis done for free. Right? Schooley Mitchell, I have partners there. I have partners with banks. I have partners with attorneys. There are people out there that are looking to help you save money, whether it's analyzing fixed expenses, looking at cash flow, doing a benchmark of your 401k plan, analyzing your benefits, and trying to figure out if you can get more benefit for less cost. It's out there. Put these things out there and get some of the analysis and free cost reduction services. It's going to go a long way to help your balance sheet in this new year.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And I think that's one of the things that you kind of mentioned, during the podcast as well, too, about talking to multiple people, because I think so many times, especially obviously during a very, disruptive time, to say the least, that, we're going through now, but also during any time, is really to understand that as we evolve as individuals, our businesses, our organizations will also evolve. And often we don't check in with those partnerships or look at those agreements that we have in place to see if they're really what we need to get to where we hope to go. So I love, that kind of, I guess, practice, but also just a reminder of that, because I think so many times we can have things on autopilot when in reality we need to be kind of just looking and making sure it's doing exactly what we want it to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's amazing to me how many people are so entrenched and busy in their business, right? We all do it. We get so entrenched as something we're working on, and we forget that, now, especially during a COVID environment, you should be looking at your waste bill, your recycling bill, your trash, your, electric, all those things, even right down to the rent you might be paying for properties, multiple locations. It's all negotiable, right? They're willing to work with you, and fees are being reduced. So why not, explore that? And in many cases, for the clients that I've seen and we've done it, it doesn't cost them anything, right? It's just a great service. Everybody should jumping on the bandwagon with that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I'm not a financial guru or anything like that, but I've always heard that it costs more to get a new client or a customer, or a new person that's, renting out your space or whatever it might be, than to retain the person that's always been there, or the organization that's always been there. So a lot of times it's to their advantage, especially during a time like a pandemic, because it just provides that, I guess, continuity, that consistency of who they're working with, who they're connecting with, and it doesn't, cost more than it could cost to kind of continue the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends that work at Verity Commercial, and it's a firm based in Reston, and they will help any business owner who's trying to downsize, upsize, move locations, whatever it is, and they'll review your current agreement to see if you can get out of it. They'll maybe even help you backfill, sublease the space if you're trying to. I mean, there's so much help out there, just knowing where to get it and what advisors are going to work in tandem together. Like I said, back to business basics, are your business advisors, the people that you're surrounding yourself with, are they looking out for your best interest on every aspect, right? Both personal and business side of your balance sheet.
Absolutely. It's so important to kind of check and make sure those relationships are going in the way that you want them to go. And it never hurts to have conversations with multiple people, because a lot of times we don't realize that those opportunities that we may not even know exist are out there. And we just need to have those conversations and initiate that interaction, I guess you can say, as well, too. So Jenevieve, truly appreciate that kind of bonus and value add you added, during this section. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic again, just to see if there's anything additional you wanted to let us know about you and your business, and also how best people can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Thanks, Gresh. I appreciate it. The best way to get a hold of me, of course, is on LinkedIn, or you can see the podcast notes at the end of today's session. I'm happy, even if you don't need to work with me, to share these resources with you, because it's so key to getting a strong foothold and a strong value for your business heading forward into 2021. So even if you just want some resources, or you're not sure what resources you need, I have a list of those I'm happy to share. So let me know, and I'll email it to you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Like Jenevieve said, we will have her links and information in the show notes as well too, so that you can follow up with her and find out about all the awesome things that she's doing, and also get that phenomenal resource list. But I truly appreciate you again for hopping on this bonus section, providing even more value in addition to the podcast interview. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
You too, Grish. Have a great day and a happy New Year to you.